Greetings. I'm Terry Rhodes, Vice President for Quality Curriculum and Assessment at the Association of American Colleges and Universities. We welcome you to the third in our series of Next Generation Assessment WebBite interviews with the leaders of each of the 7 regional accrediting bodies in the United States. We asked each leader what they've been hearing from their member campuses during the pandemic related to 2 critical issues: the campus climate for assessment on those campuses and the accreditors' expectations for useful evidence of student learning going forward. Here we speak with Belle Whelan from the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges.
Hi, I'm David Miller from the University of Florida, where I'm a professor in research and evaluation methods and director of the School of Human Development and Organizational Studies in Education. Today we're here with the SACS COC to talk about the topic of next generation of assessment from the accreditor's point of view.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Tammy Cumming. I'm the Assistant Vice President and Associate Provost for Institutional Effectiveness at Brooklyn College of the City University of New York. And I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Belle Whelan, who is the President of the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. Welcome, Belle.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being able to join you two today.
Thank you. Today, for our topic, what we want to start with was we have actually seen quite a number of changes, of course, happening recently with the COVID-19 crisis and all the things going on with the pandemic. And there's just lots of things going on in our colleges and universities. I know there are certainly at the University of Florida, but we're wondering from your perspective, what kinds of changes are you seeing in assessment and accreditation at the institutions of higher education in your region?
The first thing that happened was that those institutions that had not previously offered courses via distance had to get approval to do so. And the good news is that the Department of Education provided an opportunity for us to give waivers for that approval through the end of December. We had asked the department to give it to our institutions through the end of next spring semester, but they haven't done that yet. I would imagine with an election coming, they may not want to commit to anything next year, not knowing what the outcome will be, but at least they gave them through the summer and this fall. I have instructed our institutions that because we don't know what the department is going to do, that if they want to offer or have to offer courses via distance in the spring, and they're not currently approved to do so, they need to submit a prospectus and get approved to do that. Usually July 1st is the deadline for that, but we've given them till September 1st because we know that everybody's working from home and trying to get together with other people to figure out what it is that this prospectus needs to say and how are we going to figure this one. So we're trying to be as accommodating as possible. So they have until September 1st to do that. So that's number one, getting those. We didn't have but about 75 institutions out of our 782 members that were not approved for distancing. So it worked out real well. It's not a huge volume that our board has to address. And some of our institutions will not choose to offer courses via distance in the spring. That'll be interesting if we're still in the middle of this pandemic. And so I've encouraged them, whether they think they will or not, to go on and get the approval. So that was the first thing. The second thing is they were concerned because this pandemic hit in the middle of the spring semester. And it was like, how do I collect data, from a semester that's, and I said, all you have to do is in your report say, I've got 9.5 years of information, but I'm missing this last semester because of this strange thing called COVID-19. Everybody will understand that, but you have to say that. Don't just submit, a 10-year report with only 9.5 years of data without saying why that last cycle was not complete. So we're trying again to help everybody relax a little bit, don't get bent out of shape. We have had visits delayed, which means that some of them have more time to finish that report. We've had a lot of institutions that have chosen a different kind of strategy for doing assessment than they had originally planned. Now they're having to develop an online survey, for example, where they hadn't had to do that in the past. So everybody's adapting. It's crazy because this is the first time we've not had any options. But everybody's stepping up to the plate and being accommodating. We've had a lot of inquiries of what are the other institutions doing, because there's a lot of resource sharing going on, which just warms my heart, because there's so many times that we think people are just sitting out there trying to figure it out by themselves, and we encourage institutions to work with their colleagues, and because it's not rocket science. If it works at one place, it ought to work someplace else. So I'm very pleased with what's going on. So we've tried to be flexible and tried to allay some of their fears, but assessment is still required.
Yeah, thank you. I know, and that's what we've been seeing. We've been talking to some of the regional accreditors, and we're hearing the same message. The standards are still there. Assessment still continues, and the flexibility is certainly appreciated. And I think the initial response was a little bit of a panic and a pause, like, what are we supposed to do with respect to accreditation? But stepping back and remembering the purpose of accreditation and how we're actually using assessment, and one semester off or pause is okay when you have trends of data. And speaking of that, what do you see moving forward? We're in a brand new educational environment. I don't think we're ever really going to return to education the way it was pre-COVID. I think we're in a whole new world. And with the next generation of assessment, it's evolving. Ownership is by faculty that we're seeing more often, and administrators on the AES side. What do you see for the future of assessment with respect to accreditation in our new environment?
Well, again, the majority of our institutions were already offering distance programs. And so I'm not sure there's going to be a major shift in the assessment process. I think that those institutions that are new to distancing are going to have to learn how to do the assessment of those programs. But I think the other institutions have already stepped up to the plate on that one. I'm also not sure I agree with you that, things are not going to go back. I'm thinking that it may be a year and a half from now, but campus life will continue. That's part of why people go to college, is because they want that on-campus experience. But it has been rewarding for me to see our institutions step up and, number one, be concerned about the health and safety of the students and staff and faculty and everybody who have to come onto campus, but also to understand that instruction has to go on. I remember when computers first came out, and some of my colleagues who are old as the hills as I am said, don't give me a computer, I'm not going to do anything with it. And so we've had to train some of those same faculty to deal with teaching online. But the training that's available today is so much better than it was, 25, 30 years ago when computers first came on the scene and we were starting to offer online instruction. So I think that there's, as long as there's good planning in place, then there'll be good assessment in place, because they go hand in hand.
That's interesting to hear about collaboration and things like that too. I know that I'm at one of your institutions. I know I'm at an institution that has had already a well-established program of online. On the other hand, I'm running a school where as soon as I say that, I realize that at most 1/3 of my faculty were teaching those online courses. Most of them are not online.
Yeah.
So I think we've got a lot of learning and a lot of change that's happening in there. And I think you're right. There is just a lot of collaboration with, at least within the university, within our college. And it's good to hear that we're also seeing those kinds of collaborations across colleges where that needs to happen. So
yeah, faculty believe what other faculty say. We always have, we always will. And so to take those faculty members who have been teaching online and getting them to partner with those who haven't has been really rewarding and been very effective, rather than have an instructional technologist come in to tell you what to do. To see another faculty member, to sit in on somebody else's Zoom class, for example, to see how it's done has really been very effective.
Yeah. And I'm sitting in New York City, is where I'm working with Brooklyn College in the City University of New York system. And what we've seen is, we had only 12% of our courses were at online delivery. And we know that the whole landscape of education, at least in New York City, students like it. They like the availability to take the courses, when they need them, a little more flexible. So we'll see what happens going forward, but it's really good to hear the message that the assessment is still so important.
Yeah.
And after all, it's all about the students and the learning outcomes and making sure that they attain what the university sets out for them to deliver with respect to their educational goals.
We might need to set up Zoom meetings with your students and my students, because my students are not liking online instruction. Quite a few of them are making noise. They want tuition back because suddenly they've had to go online and they're not getting that total on-campus experience. And no conversation not too long ago about the athletic fee that's still charged, even though now canceled athletics. So I don't know, maybe I'm just closer to it, but because the complaints come to us, but it is difficult. I'm not sure I could successfully sit through an online class, because I feed off of the interactions, with other people and being in the room and feeling that energy. And there are a lot of students, who have trouble with that. There are also a lot who have difficulty getting connections or having computers and stuff. Even be able to go into the library, to get on a computer is difficult. But yeah, assessment's still going on, and all of those pieces are in that assessment. It's been quite rewarding too to see institutions that have provided computers for their students and bought hotspots so that they don't have to sit in a fast food restaurant parking lot in order to get onto the net. So it is different. There's no doubt about it. I'm just prayerful that it doesn't last forever.
Yeah. It is a very interesting thing. Our college actually is somewhere in between. We have some who would prefer to be back in a different environment, but something that very much surprised me is that this summer we actually had an increase in enrollment.
Wow.
And so we may have students who this is also given some availability to it, or that they're thinking about it as more available, because we've always had online programs.
Sure.
It's an interesting topic that we'll see what happens as we move along through here. But I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been nice having this conversation with you.
It's been my pleasure, and thank you for all you all are doing to help those students achieve their academic goals too.